G'day guys and welcome to the Rugby Podcast show, episode 3. Thanks for those that are watching. It's great to have you guys involved in the show. And if you want to subscribe, like, and ring the notification bell, that'll be awesome. I'm not going to do that very often, in fact once in a blue moon. I'll do that. Now, the reason that this is episode 3 is that we're meant to do episode 3 yesterday, but South Africa it put a spanner into the works, and they announced their team there and then, and I thought 2 videos were enough yesterday. So today I thought that I'll do the episode 3 because there's a few games to cover. In fact, there was one yesterday between Italy versus Uruguay in Pool A. Again, Italy won that 38-17, but we'll go over that in more detail in the review show tomorrow. Also, France versus Namibia is on as well. So 2 mouth-watering games there for you on your Thursday and Friday morning, respectively. We'll then go over the games of the weekend and also go over games that potentially could have ramifications for the pool. And also there has been a world rugby ranking change overnight as well, thanks to Fiji beating Australia. They've been the shining light of the tournament, I think. And yeah, so Wales are now 7th in the world. They've gone up 1 from 8th, and Fiji have gone from 9th to 8th, meaning that Australia are in 9th and competing and tinkering on the verge of becoming a tier 2 nation. Which will be a sad day when that does happen. I hope it doesn't happen, because you need a really competitive Australian Wallabies team in World Rugby, I think, at the moment. But we'll go on to that later on in the podcast. Alrighty. So that there are 3 really, really key games, I think, that could, before the big games of the weekend. Now, the key games I've got here is Scotland-Tonga. Tonga have the ability to cause an upset like Fiji. Now, Tonga did not play that well against the Irish last time round, but if they can tighten up a few games, and especially show some really, really good line speed against Scotland, better than they did against the Irish, then I think they'll be competitive. But I think Scotland also, if they play like they did against the French in the warm-up games, then I think they'll progress through that game and win that one pretty comfortably. But I really hope Tonga give them a really, really good go. It's under 20 points, I hope. England versus Chile again. England welcome back Owen Farrell, I think, this weekend. If I'm wrong, please tell me in the comment section below. But I think I think that England will be too strong for Chile, even though Chile have been really, really outstanding, and their supporters have been phenomenal as well. I've really enjoyed the likes of Rodrigo Fernandez playing. He's my favourite player at the moment, and I saw him against that USA team where he scored a try. I'll try and find a link in the description, and I'll put it in the description below, because that was absolutely outstanding. But I think Chile's skill level at the moment Won't be a match for this English side. Courtney Laws has been superb. George Ford's been superb. Stewart's been superb. Marla's been superb as well. So, yeah, I mean, if England beat Chile, then they're in the quarterfinals. And they should top Pool D, I think. Yeah, Pool D. Pool C. Don't second guess yourself, mate. No, don't. Yeah, that's a fact. Do not second guess yourself. Followed by Portugal, Georgia. Now, this game, if Georgia, hypothetically, if Georgia beat Portugal and they beat Fiji and then they beat Wales, Georgia have the possibility of making it to the quarterfinals. Now, everybody before the World Cup, that I said, Georgia are in with a shot of making the quarterfinals, in particular in this group. And everyone laughed and said, Georgia, no chance. But the way they played against Australia, first time round, even though they lost 35-15, they were in it for a long, long period of time. And I think they have the capability to go to the quarterfinals, whether or not they do this time round. But I believe that this is their best chance ever of making it to the quarters. Hey, wouldn't that be something? The Fijian or Georgia go through to the quarters. But I think it'll be Wales and Fiji, with Georgia possibly third, depending how Australia do against Portugal in their final game and also against Wales this weekend. And I think if Portugal, if they bring that flair that they did against Wales, because they were in that game for a long, long period of time, and I think that they will be a test for Georgia, but I think Georgia should beat them. I think Portugal have not had a Rugby World Cup win in their entire history. Now, I could be completely wrong, but I think if they beat Georgia on the weekend, then that'll be their first ever Rugby World Cup win. Because I think, they scored a try against the All Blacks in 2007. I remember that game. Now, I've got 3 key matchups this weekend. We've got Argentina versus Samoa as one of the key big games of the weekend, I think. Argentina have been disappointing. I expected Argentina, in particular in World Cups, to be that little bit more resilient, to be that little bit more endearing, and to show that little bit of enterprise as well. And I think Samoa saw the way that Fiji have played, and have taken, hopefully, some inspiration from that. Because if Argentina loses one, they're out too. They are gone. They're out of the World Cup. And I think that'll be fantastic for the game, to have Samoa in there ahead of Argentina. I've gone Argentina by 8 on Super Brew. But yeah, because I think Argentina, with their backs against the wall, at a must win game, then they could go. Then this is going to be a classic game. I mean, Samoa played really well against Chile. I thought Cristiano Ronaldo decided well with Lima in there too. In fact, their forwards did an outstanding job, I thought. They played in the heat, in the hot heat, in the middle of the day. Expect a fired Argentina lead Michael Cheika team versus the Samoan team, who I hope get up for it, and I hope that they can cause an upset. Actually, I'm going to say this will be an upset if they win, because I think they met in a quarter final in in the round of 16 in 1991, and I think they got beaten by Argentina then. So hopefully in 2023, 32 years later, that they can beat them. Yeah, I hope they can do it. You got two really big games here next. You got Wales and Australia, and Ireland versus South Africa. Now, we touched a little bit on the South African game in the previous video where we announced the South African team to take on the Irish. In what I called Ireland's biggest game in their modern history. I think that if Ireland can take on the Springboks well, because South Africa are just going to their strengths, aren't they? With the 7-1 split in their bench, they'll say, give everything you got, Ireland. Give everything that you got against us. Because we know that we can take you guys out. But the Irish, they've been the form side all year. I think they've won the last 15 odd in a row or something ridiculous like that. Because they won the series against the All Blacks last year, sadly, 2-1. Oh no. Yep, they're not going for a winning streak record, but I think they're going for 10 in a row or something like that since that All Blacks defeat at Eden Park in Auckland in 2022. So it's going to be. And I think the difference will be the breakdown. And I hope, and I really, really hope, that this game is not deferred on any decisions. Because it promises to be a great spectacle. And I believe that Ben O'Keefe is the referee for that one. Yes, he is. Yep. He is the referee for that big game. Wales versus Australia. Now, 2 years ago, or even last year, if you thought that Australia Rugby, the Wallabies, will be on the verge of being ousted out of the World Cup, I would have laughed at that. I'd say there's no way they're going to make the quarterfinals. They should be there. Because I had them as one of 8 sides, potentially, that potentially could win the World Cup. And for me, I've said this before to people, for me, you need Australian rugby to be successful. As an All Blacks supporter, that said that. Now, I hope they don't win the World Cup, but I hope that they're competitive. And it's going to be interesting to see how they take that Wales game on, because they were awful against Fiji. Now, even though there were 2 tries to 1 ahead, Australia just never got going. Well, they made a couple of good breaks. We're just not clicking for whatever reason. And yeah, they were not clicking for whatever reason. Eddie Jones said that Fiji kicked more than Australia, but Australia kicked a total of 29 times in that game out of hand. Now, I know what they're trying to do in the kicks, because Wales did it effectively as well against Fiji by playing it into that 22, into that 20, into that corner. But for me, Australia didn't execute at all. Now it's a really young Australian side. I get that. And I kind of know what Eddie Jones is doing. He's building them for that future. And if you talk about a year ago, it could have been different. He could have had this team for a year. We would have seen some progress. But it's his first stint back with the Wallabies. Sometimes you take a lot of pain from the World Cup and all that, and then you've got to get up again next year. Because in the next 4 years, the side hopefully will stay together, and they'll have a really good outfit in 4 years' time, probably. I've tipped Wales to win this one by 4. I think they're just a lot more experienced than the Australian team. Simple as that. Dan Bigger kicking really well to the corners, precise as well. I also liked Lee Halfpenny at fullback. He's still the GOAT. And for me, he's the player to watch in that game. For me. And the youngster Luis Rees is exceptional. Exceptionally quick. So it's gonna be a phenomenal game of rugby, I think. And I think when Australia's back against the wall, that's when they start to fight. I'm hoping to give a speech to Australia. Eddie, if you're watching and you want this motivational speech, I'm more than happy to give it to you. It's gonna be good. And Australia without with Skelton and Talion and Tupou as well. 2 huge losses for them and their most experienced side ever. And I think that game will be won and lost in the breakdown as well. Wales' forward pack is pretty good. They scrummed really well. They lineouts was okay. The lineouts were okay. Jack Morgan was outstanding. So if he gets over the ball, then there'll be no stopping Wales, I don't think. I've rambled on a little bit, guys. Sorry about that. And I hope you've enjoyed that video and that podcast. It's been a long podcast. It's going to be an interesting few games of the World Cup here. We've got the game of the tournament between Ireland and South Africa. The winner of that, 4-pack, I reckon. And fitness. I think fitness will be the key. Ireland are a fit side. They're a very, very fit team. And if they can go toe-to-toe with South Africa, and then in the last 20, it's a game on there. Let me know what you think of the podcast. If there's anything that you want to be discussed in the World Cup, any interviews or anything like that I can try and tee up for you. Let me know, guys. It'll be great. Thanks for listening. I know I've rambled on a bit about the Australian team, but you kind of need them to be competitive. Kind of. Alright, Kia ora. Over and out.